Welcome to Easter V in Readings. I am your consciousness coordinator, Reverend Rock, aka Raheem, and tonight we're going to discuss the Chariots of Gods. And it has three major patriarchal people in the Bible. That is Moses, Elijah, and Ezekiel. Elijah, El-i-Jah, El as in Elohim, the shining ones, the ones that created us. You got El, I is like Yod, it's the adhesive, bringing the masculine, feminine energies together, the androgynous beings as the Elohims are. Jah is Hebrew for I am. Yah, El-i-Jah. Ezekiel, again, the El, singular for Elohim, the shining ones, the Anunnaki, the Teru, the ones I've been speaking about in my previous videos. You see the El, as in Michael. Exodus 13:21. And the Lord went before them by day in a pillar of a cloud to lead them the way, and by night in a pillar of fire to give them light to go by day and night. Now this is when, the Israelites, the Israelites, were wandering in the wilderness when they left the bondage of Egypt, which is, synonymous for the body. Egypt is a metaphor for the body. Remember, the Bible is written in allegory. Israel, the El as an Elohim, Isis as the feminine deity, Ra as the masculine principle. You have to understand, these are androgynous beings. Luminous beings are they. But they're androgynous. In any event, and the Lord was leading Moses. Remember, Moses was the intermediary between God and the Israelites. He was the one that ascended the pyramid, Mount Sinai, for a lack of a better term. He's the one that went up and spoke with God, with Enki. Alright, I'm going to go back a little. And the Lord went before them by day in a pillar of a cloud. That cloud was exhaust, like chemtrails that airplanes leave every now and then. That was the exhaust. You have to understand, these things were written over 2,000 years ago. You understand what I'm saying? And they're trying to describe as the best way they can in their language. You must understand, English has a word for everything. These primitive ancient languages, they don't have a word for everything, so a lot of these words are intertwined with each other, especially when dealing in metaphors. A pillar, a cloud, to lead lead them the way, and by night in a pillar of fire. So I would assume that at night, being that the sun is not out, he's describing the not the flame, what do you call it? The exhaust that comes from an engine, a motor or something, a vehicle. Exodus 34:2. And be ready in the morning, and come up in the morning unto Mount Sinai. Again, Mount Sinai is the Great Pyramid of Giza. That is the mountain. You must understand, again, with their with their limited words in their language. Pyramid. And present thyself there to me on the top of the mount. And no man shall come up with thee, neither let any man be seen throughout all the mount, neither let the flocks nor herds feed before the mount, pyramid. And the Lord descended in the cloud, the exhaust, and stood with him there and proclaimed the name of the Lord. And he was there with the Lord 40 days and 40 nights. He did neither eat bread nor drink water. And he wrote upon the tablets the words of the covenant, the 10 commandments. And it came to pass, when Moses came down from Mount Sinai, the great pyramid of Giza, with the 2 tablets of testimony in Moses' hands. Anyway, I'm sorry. I hate to keep saying Moses, because that wasn't his real name. His real name was Aminabad. Moshe was his title. Aminabad was the name that his biological father gave him. Moshe, the title. Wist not that the skin of his face shone while he talked with him. The skin of his face shone while he talked with him. Quote, end quote. And when Aaron and all the children of Israel saw Moses, behold, the skin of his face shone, and they were afraid to come nigh him. His face shone. It was bright. It was illuminating. When he came down from speaking with God on the top of the great pyramid of Giza, when he came down from that mountain, his face was shining from the experience of interacting with that being, with that entity, with that vehicle. It's obvious that that vehicle was emitting radiation particles. That's what caused Moses' face to shine. And the Israelites were afraid of him. They was like, oh, sweat, what's going on? You glowing, your face is glowing. And afterward, all the children of Israel came nigh, and he gave them in commandment all that the Lord had spoken with him on the Mount Sinai, the great pyramid. Until Moshe, Aminabad, had done speaking with them, he put a veil on his face. His face was shining so brightly, people were so afraid of him that they couldn't even look in his face. He had to put a veil over his face. That was the effects of being in the presence of radiation. 40 days or 40 nights? You heard how long he was in radiation. So you know he got cancer. You know Moses got cancer at this point. Interacting with that being. That's why he didn't make it to the promised land. But that's another story in itself, people. Let's stick to the point. Alright. Moses put the veil upon his face again until he went to speak with him. Shone. This is the definition of shone. Past particle to shine, to radiate, to glow as a source of light. Radiation from the mothership, the Merkaba. That's our own personal ships, distinguished from the mothership. That's another story in itself. I'll do a video on our own personal Merkabas. Remember, we are half and half hybrids. Half Neanderthal, Cro-Magnon, Homo erectus, and half Elohim. Remember, because the Lord breathed into the spirit of Adam, and Adam became a living soul. Adamu. That's his real name. The definition for radiation is energy that comes from a source and travels through space at the speed of light. At the speed of light. This energy has an electrical field and a magnetic field associated with it, and has wave-like properties. You could also call radiation electromagnetic waves that travel at the speed of light. The speed of light is 186,000 miles per second. Just think about that. 186 miles per second. That's the speed of light. So it is by no coincidence, it is by synchronicity that Moses' face shone with the brightness and the illumination of the Merkabah, of the mothership, of that chariot. You must understand, again, they're speaking in a primitive language. They don't have adjectives, vowels, consonant clusters, and all this stuff that we have in our English, in our English language. You know what I mean? Synonyms, antonyms, onomatopoeia, and all of that stuff. They didn't have that 2,000 years ago. That's something that developed during time. So he's describing a chariot. That's what they had back then. They didn't have trucks. They didn't have diesel engines and gas stations, filling stations. You understand what I'm saying? With engines. So when they perceived these things, they described it with what they knew. Animals, humans, vegetation, things of that nature. Again, English has a word for everything. For example, in Espanol, in Spanish, this is a sombrero. In English, this is sombrero means hat in Espanol. But this is a baseball cap. You understand what I'm saying? In any event, the abduction of El-i-Jah. Remember, El is singular form of Elohim. Elohim. Jah, I am. So Elijah simply means I am Elohim. I am El. I am the God. 2 Kings 2. And it came to pass when the Lord would take up El-i-Jah. I'm sorry, El means shine. So Elijah means I am the shining one. I am the one that shines. Kind of similar to Lucifer, because Lucifer is Latin for the light bringer, the light bearer. See, they tricked us into believing that that name is something negative. But shine, the light, is synonymous, is an esoteric representative of consciousness, being. And why it's negative? Because this consciousness in the realm that we are in is a prison. This crude matter is not us. Luminous beings are we. Photons. Photons, not electrons, not neutrons. Protons. Not protons. Photons, pH. Particles of light. That what was breathed, blown into the Neanderthal. The beast. The beast of the earth. That was the beast. But see, it's funny that they use those words because they was attracted to these beasts, because many of them had sexual relations with that beast and had children by these beasts. Anyway, let's stick to the point. The chariots of gods. 2 Kings 2. And it came to pass, when the Lord would take up El-i-Jah into heaven by a whirlwind, that Elijah went with Elisha from Gilgal. A whirlwind. He went up to heaven in a whirlwind. And it came to pass, as they still went on and talked, that behold, there appeared a chariot of fire and horses of fire, and parted them both asunder. And Elijah went up by a whirlwind into heaven. A chariot of fire. Remember to understand, he never seen a vehicle before. He never seen an automobile before. He never seen a truck. He's never seen a motorcycle. They ride chariots and horses 2,000 years ago. So this chariot is emitting fire. The horses, the engines, the horses is synonymous to the engines. That's why you say, how many horsepowers do you have? Your vehicle has, your automobile have. It's synonymous to power, fire, power, energy, radiation, nuclear power, to be specific. And it went up into a whirlwind. I just think, your logical mind, when you picture a chariot pulling by a horse and buggy, you can't picture it going up in a whirlwind. That doesn't make logical sense. So it's just common sense to realize that that's what the language they were speaking 2,000 years ago. They were doing the interpreter was doing the best they could to convey what he saw, what he experienced, without being of the future. And Elisha saw it, and he cried, my father, the chariot of Israel, the chariot of Isis, Ra, and El, O him, and the horsemen thereof. And he saw him no more, and he took hold of his own clothes and rent them into pieces. Remember that? It's bringing me reminds of that song that they used to sing in church when I was younger. Swing low, sweet chariot, coming forth to carry me home. Swing low, sweet chariot, coming forth to carry me home. Now, even in that song, what would a grounded chariot be doing swinging low? So even in that song, they were using the best language that they knew how. You understand? So even though it's English, you understand what I'm saying? These are coming from songs that came from the African American slave trade, the proverbial African American slave trade. Like I said again in our previous videos, we already been here. They didn't bring us over on no goddamn ship. They came over here, they fucking saw us, and they did what the fuck they did with us. Bottom line. Hook, line, and sinker. There ain't no other thing. Brings on no goddamn ship. How you gonna travel on those ships for all them 3 motherfucking months chained up and tied up? Man, get the fuck out of here. And they wasn't feeding us. You can't live off of water, but for how long? For a week? Man, come on, man. Use your brains. But anyway, hey, I talked about that already. But alright. So yeah. Moving on to Ezekiel 1 and 4. And I looked, and behold, a whirlwind. Again, that whirlwind. These are 3 different people, 3 different events. Moses, Elijah, and Ezekiel. 3 different time frames. And I looked, and behold, a whirlwind came out of the north. A great cloud. Again, that cloud. That's the exhaust. The chemtrails. That our planes be emitting. In any event. a chemical from the turbine, and fire enfolding itself, and a brightness was about it, and out of the midst thereof, as the color of amber, out of the midst of the fire. And that's the fire. That's the, when you see them drag races and they peel off. You see that fire burst out the exhaust. You know what I mean? Just imagine that like a million quadrillion times fold. You know what I'm saying? Coming from this vehicle that he's explaining. Likeness / appearance of the living creatures / vehicle. 13. As for the likeness of the living creatures / mothership, their appearance was like burning coals of fire, and like the appearance of lamps. It went up and down among the living creatures / mothership, and the fire was bright, and out of the fire went forth lightning. Again, he's using the language, an ancient language, to describe what he's seeing in the sky. Went forth as lightning, and the living creatures ran and returned as the appearance of a flash of lightning. Light speed. It was going so fast in his mind, as he was perceiving it, as he was experiencing it, it was going so fast. It appears as flashes of lightning, meaning it was moving at the speed of light, 186,000 miles per second. But he doesn't know that. He didn't study that. But then again, he should have, because he has the El hinged to his name, meaning that he had special skills, or else he wouldn't have the El attached to his name, especially back then. Ezekiel, Lohim. Again, radiation is energy that comes from a source and travels through space at the speed of light, 186,000 miles per second. This energy has an electric field and a magnetic field associated with it, and has wave-like properties. You could also call radiation electromagnetic waves. Verse 15. Now as I beheld the living creatures / mothership, behold, one wheel, turbine, upon the earth by the living creatures / mothership. The appearance of the wheels, turbines, and their work was like unto the color of beryl, meaning they were metal. Because, you know what I'm saying? It was metal. He doesn't know how to say metal in his language, in English. He wasn't over here in America. He wasn't in English. He wasn't in Anglo land. You know what I mean? They were in Anglo-Saxons. You know what I'm saying? Speaking a Germanic language. The wheels and their work was like unto the color of beryl, turbines. And they four had one likeness, and their appearance and their work was it were a wheel in the middle of a wheel in the middle of a wheel. Turbines, like in a clock. That's turbines. A wheel within a wheel. Think of encouraging the wheel within the wheel, rotating a wheel. Turbines. And remember, this Bible was interpreted in the 1400s by King James and William Shakespeare. So again, they didn't even have the word turbines back then because they didn't have vehicles back then. So even in interpretation, you can clearly see what it is. So forget about the ancient Hebrew language that it was originally written, the Aramaic language that it was originally written in. Distill all of that. You can bring it up further to Old English with William Shakespeare. They didn't have the word turbine back then in the 1400s. That's a modern world when they started creating vehicles, modern vehicles at that. They probably didn't have that terminology when Henry Ford built the vehicle. You know what I mean? Invented it. All right. A wheel within a wheel within a wheel. Just imagine that. That's a turbine. A wheel within a wheel within a wheel. All right. When they went upon their four sides, and they turned not. When they went, meaning that they moved at 90-degree angles. Remember, at the speed of light, 90-degree angles. They turned not. Remember, he's describing this the best way he could in a primitive language. So he's not going to say 90-degree angles. They turned not. They didn't turn. They was just zigzagging at the speed of light, with fire and smoke coming out of them. This is what he was experiencing. This is in your Bible. This is what your preacher doesn't tell you about. These beings that travel intergalactically, interdimensionally, in and out. When you be seeing them shadows on the side and you sitting down and you're peripheral, you see them shadows, those entities and ghosts and things moving in your house that you call ghost. Those are extraterrestrials. The word terrestrial is Latin for earth. They extra earthly. They can travel in the earth, which means matter. Matter, M-A-T-T-E-R, which the word mother comes from. That's why you got Mother Nature, this physical realm. That they can do it by will. But what I'm telling you is this. You can do it too. You have that power because you are a half-breed. And they're jealous because they have to leave. You can come back and forth as you see fit. And the appearance of the turbines and their work was like unto the color of beryl, and they four had one likeness, and their appearance and their work was as it were a wheel within the wheel, in the middle of a wheel within the middle of a wheel. Again, turbines. When they went upon their four sides, and they turned not. When they went. Meaning again, that they moved in 90-degree angles. Angles. Angels. 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 Angles. Angels. Angels. Elohims. They zigzagged as they traveled. The angles. That's where the word angels come from. Angles. The 90-degree angles in which they were moving. In the speed of light. Remember, lightning. As for their wings, they were so high that they were dreadful. Okay? High means that it was high. They was up there. He's telling you the position. He's telling you where they're at. First he was giving you the appearance. He was showing you, he was describing what they are. Now he's telling you where he's seen them at. And they were high, meaning that they were up. High don't mean low. You don't have to say high, you look at the goddamn ground. Alright, hold on. And they were high, that they were dreadful, and that the rings were full of eyes round about them four. Full of eyes, round about. The eyes simply meant windows. They were windows. They appeared from a distance. With his primitive language, it appeared to be eyes. They probably were oval, they gave the appearance of oval. So this is what he's describing in his primitive Sumerian language. Back then, that was Aramaic, because Sumerian was the first. So Aramaic, And it's Aramaic language, still a primitive language, you know. And when the living creatures / the mothership went, the wheels, the turbines, went by them. And when they living creatures were lifted up from the earth, meaning it levitated, it elevated from off of this planet, this domain, this realm, this dimension that we're in. It didn't say it descended into the earth or into the waters. It said it lifted up from the earth. So this thing that is zigzagging at 90-degree angles at the speed of light, that's shining and has a fire and smoke coming from it. You don't think that's a UFO? It's in the Bible. I'm giving you the verse. You can go check it yourself. Don't take my word for it. It's been in the book that you have tucked away somewhere in your house. It's been in there. Now, don't ask me why your preacher, your pastor, your reverend chooses not to divulge this information to you, because he has an agenda to keep his pockets fat while you living in a single wide trailer. And he got a house in Myrtle Beach and Hilton Head, going on trips, driving a Mercedes, driving a BMW, and you pushing a Honda and you think it's okay? I'm just saying. ATM machines in the foyers of churches. ATM machines in the foyers of churches. What is this world coming to? That's so bold and brash. Let me not get off subject. Excuse me. I had to take a break right there. I don't see how y'all don't see that. For the love of money is the root of all evil. For the love of money. And they have it in ATM machines in the foyers of a religious institution. That doesn't set off like red flags in your consciousness. You people gotta wake up, man. Y'all better start waking up, man, because you're gonna get left. I'm already telling you how they coming. When he says in the Bible he's gonna come like a thief in the night, like a damn thief in the night, and it's showing you proof what they are. I'm telling you. If you don't know now, I'm telling you now. Now you know. Well, knowing is half the battle. And you can't unknow. Because you saw it. You're watching this. Like I said again, don't take my word for it. Go research it for yourself. Google it. It's all there. All the information you need is at your fingertips. You have no excuse to be ignorant. But you're lazy. Because you have it all here. Or perhaps maybe you just don't know how to do it. And I can understand that. But I'm not talking about the ones that make the attempt, that don't know how to do it. I'm talking about the ones that do not. They listen to whatever anybody says and they go off without any premise or any real empirical structured information. And they put it out there and they talk as if it's fact. Foolish mortals. Excuse me. And when the living creatures / mothership went, the wheels, the turbines went by them, and when the living creatures were lifted up from the earth, the wheels, the turbines, were lifted. Spirit, Latin, breath, spelled B-R-E-A-T-H-E, synonym, life. Physics, the property of matter and radiation which is manifested as a capacity to perform work, such as causing motion or the interaction of molecules. Alright? The 20th verse of Ezekiel. Eze-Ki-El. Is this a fancy what is it prefix, a fancy prefix for Isis. Eze-Ki-El. Ezekiel. You know what I mean? Remember, it has to have masculine and feminine androgynous principles in order for it to be complete. The unconsciousness has to be in tune with the consciousness. Thus, if you have a masculine consciousness, it automatically is going to deflect and project a feminine unconscious called the anima, which is Latin for soul or spirit, as an animal, like an animal. Get it? Anima, L. Again, in the word animal. Telling you, they playing with you. They playing with you. Anima is Latin for spirit and is the feminine part of your unconscious. And it's represented by your unconscious, which is feminine. Because if you are masculine, that means your unconscious is feminine, and vice versa. If you're feminine, you're a female, your conscious is feminine, your unconscious is the masculine, which is the animus, which still has that anima as its basic foundation, which means spirit, soul, as in the word animal, 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 with the L, with the Elohim, that's giving it life. Boom! Play with it. Play with it now. Hold on. So you got to study etymology in these words, because these words are very, very tricky. In the beginning was the Word. 1 John. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was God. Listen. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was God, and the Word was with God. The same was in the beginning. Our words are very powerful. Be careful of what you say. Spelling. Words. The word spell is in spelling words. When you spell the words and you use these type of words, you're putting spells on yourself and other people by talking it into existence. That's what they call it, spelling. Be careful what you say. Again, 1 John. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was God, and the Word was with God. The same was in the beginning. All of these are clues and hints that they veiled and revealed over and over. Remember what it said? Moses put a veil over the light of his face. He put a veil over the light to protect it from the profane. Now it's time for me to unveil it to you. It is time, and it is what other time than now, when our children are killing each other in cold blood and don't even care in our hip-hop music. I never thought I would feel like this, because I am hip-hop. I was born in 1973, the same month hip-hop was invented in the Bronx with Kool Herc at that party. When that party was going on, I was being born. I remember Curtis Blow, LL Cool J. I listened to all of that. Run DMC, KRS-One, Eric B. and Rakim, Big Daddy Kane, Q-Tip, Fife. I went to school with them. Linden Seventh-day Adventist School, John Davis and Malik. They were older than me, but I went to school with them. I am hip-hop. I went to Andrew Jackson High School off of Francis Lewis. That's my zone school. I lived several blocks over in Cambria Heights, Jamaica, Queens. I am hip-hop, and I would never thought that I would say this, but pop has evolved into something that is destructive for our youth. When I was listening to it, they had stories. Slick Rick telling stories about a kid robbing somebody, but met his a detrimental fate at the end of the story. KRS-One with his positive messages to the black man to uplift us. These are the catalysts that prompted me to be the being that I am today. So I can't completely knock hip-hop from its origins. But now, when you have our children talking about not what they're going to do if you disrespect them, but what they already have done to the people that have disrespected them in the past, what they already have done to them. Kill them. Our children, mine and your children, are doing this. So what does this have to say about us? What kind of parents are we that our children are murderers? You are the parent of a murderer. How do you feel? How do you feel? You feel proud? You happy? You get some clout? I keep going off on a tangent. I'm going to finish this. Chariot of Gods. Just give me a second. Let me get myself together. Chariots of Gods. These chariots swing low, sweet chariot, coming forth to carry me home. Swing low, sweet chariot, coming forth to carry me home. All right, let's see what we got. Noony noony noon, noony noon, noony noony noon. All right. So let me start from the 20th verse of Ezekiel. Whithersoever the spirit / energy was to go, they went. Thither was the spirit / energy to go, and the wheels / turbines were lifted up over against them, for the spirit / energy of the living creatures / mothership was in the wheels, the turbines. Meaning, the energy that propelled this vehicle, this chariot, this thing that exuded flames of fire and exhaust. It was motivated from the turbines, this energy. The energy came from the turbines, from the wheels. Remember, there was no word for turbines back then. He's calling the turbines wheels. But this energy was propelled through the turbines, the spirit. He's calling it spirit because they didn't have a word for energy back then. The word for energy back then was spirit. You know what I'm saying? Back in the 1400s, because there was something else before King James and William Shakespeare started transliterating the Bible. That's why you got the "al, thou, shalt, hither, thither, henceforth," and so forth and so on. They're speaking in a language that William Shakespeare was speaking, because he's the one that put it together. He was in his prime. I think he was like 24, 23. I don't remember. Don't quote me on it, but I knew he was in his prime when he put this together. That's why he's so prominent. He's a prominent figure. That's why he's so important. Because he composed this book, the most prolific book, not prolific, the most sold #1 bestseller. No, not bestseller, most popular. Because you don't have to buy Bibles anymore. There are people giving away Bibles. And it all came from the first book that ever existed in Samaria, called the Enuma Elish. Remember that word El? The Enuma Elish. The word El is in it. Elish. That was the first book. Documented. Sumerian, that's where all this information comes from. Your Dead Sea Scrolls, all of these ancient texts, the Quran, the Rig Veda, all of these ancient books came from the one source. The Enuma Elish. The Sumerian. The story of who created the Anunnaki. I'm about to do a video on that, because I know everybody's like, who if they created us, who created them? I'm going to do, my next video is going to be on who created them, or what created them, for a lack of a better term. I'm going to go into detail about that. What created them? Those beings that came from that other dimension that come here to mine gold and created us for a slave race. To mine the gold for their dying planet. When those went, these went. And when those stood, these stood. And when those were lifted up from the earth, again, lifted up from the earth, that means it was in the sky. It wasn't around the corner. It wasn't down the street. It was lifted up. This vehicle, again, that zigzagged and emitted exhaust and clouds and smoke and blazing fire, and it shone and it shined, and it turned for Moses' face white, to where the Israelites were afraid of him, is leaving the earth. What else is that? What else is that? I tell you what, in the comments, you tell me what you think it is. That is. Challenge me. Challenge it. But before you do your research. Again, don't take my word for it. And don't come at me with no foolishness. Because I'm prepared. I didn't start doing this yesterday. The engine/motor, turbines. A machine for producing continuous power in which a wheel or rotor, typically fitted with vanes, is made to revolve, these are all key words, by a fast-moving flow of water, steam, gas, air, or other fluid. Those are the energy. That is the spirit. Gas, steam, water, or air. That is the spirit. That is the energy. Earth, fire, water, air. The 4 cardinal points of the equinox. The 4 seasons. What is it? Scorpio, Aquarius, Taurus, and Leo. The 4 ages. 630,000 years. Ages. 4 of them. All of that correlate to each other. All of that. Again, the engine, motor, turbines, a machine for producing continuous power in which a wheel or rotor, typically fitted with vanes, is made to revolve by a fast moving flow of water, steam, gas, air, or other fluid. So again, the turbines are propelled with the energy of the water, the steam, gas, or air. The spirit. And when they went, I heard the noise of their wings, like the noise of great waters. Like the noise of great waters. Just imagine Niagara Falls or any waterfall for that matter. That sound. That is the sound of turbines rotating, manufacturing energy by water, steam, gas, or whatever. You understand what I'm saying? Propelling this ship, energizing this ship, moving this ship that is zigzagging fast. Remember, a lot of keywords, they keep saying fast. The speed of light, 186,000 miles per second. Zigzagging like lightning. 90-degree angels. 90-degree angles. Revelation 1:7. Behold, he cometh with clouds, and every eye shall see him. Behold, he cometh with clouds, and every eye shall see him. The third eye. And he's coming with a cloud, a chemtrail. That's what they hiding from y'all. Why do you think when the COVID-19 pandemic, they came out with all this information of UFOs? The military all of a sudden just started admitting, yeah, there's unidentified flying objects, and started showing footage of it. They started admitting to it. But y'all were so stuck on and distracted by the COVID-19 and Donald Trump that y'all didn't even stop to realize they was talking about the Anunnaki and the Nephilim, the angels of the Bible. Y'all keep playing. Y'all keep playing. Keep on playing. He's going to come like a thief in the night. Behold, he's coming with the clouds, and every eye shall see him. Neha. And may all of your positive aspirations manifest unto fruition. Peace, and I love you. Reverend Rock, and I'm out.